Hello, good afternoon. My name is Hector Garcia. This is my sixth video class assignment for the class of Migration and Health. In this video, I will talk about two different articles that I read all the week. And these two articles cover the vast majority of things that we have talked about in the last few weeks, the last few months, and I think are pretty interesting. And I hope you think the same as me. Well, first of all, we have life course epidemiology. That's how it's called, the first article, and it basically covers everything of the factors and the stages that every migrant has to pass if they really want to travel to a different place, if they really want to go and find new opportunities and new places to live and have a better life. In this article, it divided in three different parts: before, meanwhile, and after the migration process, and how um well how is health gonna affect him, how is his health gonna be, how is all these social aspects that we don't usually talk about, but now those are really necessary. For example, before traveling and before crossing to another country, we have, for example, the hypothesis of health, of the health migrant, that we already talked about it in the last video. And it basically states that every migrant, every immigrant, it's basically, or it has to be someone with a really good health status. I mean, if someone is carrying a disease, or someone is not 100% physically and mentally speaking, of course, those people are not going to be able to travel to a different country. So this hypothesis talks about that people who are in better health status, they're going to be the ones that are going to travel. They are the ones that are going to be in the migrants. So before traveling, of course, the social economic level of the origin country, it's it's important. Now we have the aspects and what matters meanwhile the migrants are traveling. Of course, uh, first of all, every time someone travels, they use some form, some way. It could be a car, it could be by walking, it could be by train or somehow, but they travel. And in that process, they have that huge opportunity and that huge chance of carrying any mortal disease. And that's something that they don't usually think about. They are just thinking about their objective, which is going to another country and um, having a better life, of course. Of course, the legal barriers are also so important. For example, if someone from, I don't know, Yucatan want to travel to all over LA or California, they're gonna have to pass a lot of things, but it's specifically talking when they are gonna travel in those border patrol decisions, there are gonna be some troubles, there are gonna be some problems. If that person gets injured, for example, there's gonna be some what's gonna be with the attention? That's what I'm talking about. If someone gets injured on the border, what's gonna be with the attention or the protocol? How's it gonna be? And also we have the stress, which is the most dangerous aspect that we can see, but it's the most dangerous, and I'm gonna tell you why. And this is not something that I read it's I'm not gonna say it only because I read on the article. I'm gonna say it because I have learned it all over in my medicine school and my medicine career. The stress can produce hypertension and other pathologies referred to the heart. Okay. Eh, So yeah, I mean, if someone from Argentina that it's a long distance away, they want to go to Canada or the States of America, they're gonna have to pass for a lot of stress eventually. Okay, so that's something to think about. And we also have before, meanwhile, and we have, of course, the post-migrant aspects, which are the social and cultural aspects. In these two articles, I learned a lot about how the culture is so important in migrants. If I'm from Mexico and I want to travel to States and I want to stay there forever, eventually, and someday I'm gonna have to learn, and I'll practically be an American. I'm gonna eat the same thing. I'm gonna read the same stuff. I'm gonna, well, yeah, eat, drink, read, work, walk in the same streets. Everything's gonna be the same. Unfortunately, I'm not an American. Even though I passed my whole life working over there, I'm not gonna be an American. There's still some racism, unfortunately, and that's something we can't change. There's always the conditions of we all know, and I'm not gonna lie, the conditions, the working conditions are so bad, are terrible, and the worse the conditions are, well, the more probability of carrying a disease. And you carry a disease, and if you go to a hospital where the vast majority of nurses and doctors are racist, there's the problem, you know? And something else, it's health, and no, health, no. It's the nutrition. Well, I don't know how to say it in English, sorry. It's dieta, it's, well, yeah, it's basically what you eat. Okay, we all know that America, Canada, well, Canada, it's better than United States and better than Mexico in in food and on what's healthy and what's not. So that basically covers the first article, and I find it pretty interesting. The second one talks about the models of migration health. Some of them I have already talked about them in past videos. For example, the health migrant, I already said it that every immigrant was at the beginning strongly, it was perfectly healthy because someone that is not healthy, it's not gonna be brave enough to travel from another place. Okay, so that's the first model. We also have the salmon hypothesis that I talked about it the last video, which was pretty interesting. Yeah, the salmon, the fish that it's curious because when someone uh, well gets sick or it's an elder, for example, and they decide, I don't know why, to return to their origin country. Well, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to give my I don't know what my opinion even is. So, but the main problem with this is the statistics. Okay? So if you're an immigrant and you get sick and you just return everything, the numbers are not gonna be right. And yeah, we also have uh, the adaptation model, which talks about that in time, well, migrants will look more and more to those that are locals. Eventually, thanks to the habits. If I live in Utah, for example, in Utah, they all eat hamburgers almost every day. Well, eventually I will end up eating hamburgers almost all day and probably having a risk of um, an embolism or something like that. There's also the vulnerability, the social vulnerability model, which is that, of course, if you are poor, if you don't have those um, um, economic, uh, well, I forgot. Sorry, if you don't have money, you're not gonna be able to have a nice place to to get well, if you don't have money, you're not gonna be able to afford a console. You're not gonna be able to afford uh, treatment, doctors, because nothing is free. So in that cases, your health it's get worse and worse. So those are the main points and the main ideas of these two articles. And yes, there was something unclear to me. I didn't understand. I didn't fully understand, which is the accumulation of risk model. I'm sorry. I even though I read it, I will have to look it up next time. And what was new for me? It was new for me the cultural aspect. I don't know if you noticed, but when I was explaining in the video, I got a little bit of excitement talking about it because it's true. It's true. The more days you stay in another country, the more time you're gonna end up being like them. So yeah. And was there anything you would like to explore further or learn more about? Well, yeah. And the thing that I couldn't understand, the model that I couldn't understand. Uh, in my way of thinking, it's different. Yes, now I will consider that. It's something that I will consider. And one a specific or an example. Well, I would say that my dad has an uncle that it's illegal. He's legal. He's living in the United States. He works in the United States, but he I don't know, fully understand. I don't really know the story, but well, the only thing I can say because I'll ask him later, it's that, for example, in the cultural, and he is now eating a lot of things that they eat in the United States. So he has hypertension, and maybe now that I'm thinking, it's because what Americans eat. So yeah, that's my video, and hope you like it.